So we're headed over to Alamo today. This is gonna be video part 2. So here's the situation, just so everybody, anyone that watches this, anyone who cares, and then again, anyone that wants to build a rifle off of a Cadex chassis, the Duel Strike, you need to know to watch out for this. So here's the problem, is I went in and I was looking at doing a Defiance action. So this is your action. My understanding is that the Defiant action is a Remington 700 footprint, and it worked with the Cadex chassis. The gentleman at Alamo Precision said, hey, why don't you just use one of ours? It's less expensive, and it's basically the exact same thing. Cool. I did mention from the very beginning, this is what I want to do. I've got a Cadex chassis that has an integrated rail. What I need is an action that does not have an integrated rail, because I won't need the rail. So if we look right here, customer does not want the rail on the receiver. The Cadex chassis comes with an integrated rail, right? So to avoid the situation I'm in now, that should have been caught, pretty quick. Hey, bring in the chassis. We've got a bunch of actions here. Let's put one on, see if it works. That didn't happen. That's okay. It's just an oversight. It's okay as long as they fix it. The other issue is this action. So the Remington 700 uses the smaller screws. This action uses the little bit larger screws. So the back lines up. It is off by just a couple thousandths. I feel like that's an easy fix. No screw hole there. That one looks like it lines up, and that one looks like it lines up. So, also, the main issue is on a Remington, this is going to be down somewhere between, I don't know, several thousandths, 20, 50 thousandths, I don't know. But you can see, because it's taller on this, because it's aftermarket, it hits here. This is resting on top of this, and it leaves a gap here. So that's how far off it is. So the screws can't screw through here and make contact here and here. So that is the issue. So I looked up a bunch of stuff. It looks like these should be able to be TIG welded, and then we should be able to mill the back of this down just enough, this amount here, and then either retap this, because remember, these have two different screws, so we either have to retap this, at least that one screw hole here, and then these are made for the smaller screw holes, so these will have to be drilled out just enough for the larger screws, and then everything should be perfect. So I'm really hoping, I'm trusting that Alamo is going to do that. I feel like that's the easiest method. The other option would be having to go with a whole different lower action, which, if they're willing to give me back the money for their action and apply that towards a different action, and I'll just pay the difference. And then they do everything else that I've already paid for, meaning they go ahead and match the barrel to the action, repaint everything. Okay, I can settle for that. I feel like it would be easier to close up the holes, but that's where we're at. I'm back home. Just got back from Alamo and kind of went over all the options. They didn't, so what they said is like, you could try this, you could do this. So what we're doing is I got Cadex involved. Cadex is going to see if they have this piece right here. So my understanding is there's another company that is basically exactly like the Alamo action. And they're going to try to get the measurements from that and see if they have a rail that fits one of these guns, one of these actions. So the gentleman at Cadex, which so far it seems like they've been the most helpful, They've got 50 different rails for these actions. So these guns fit all kinds of different stuff, but they got about 50 different rails. So they're gonna get the information. They're gonna see if they have a rail that I can just buy a new rail, put it in, and then I'm good to go, right? That's the best case scenario. I talked to them about milling. I thought it would be simple. TIG weld the holes closed, mill this down, get this piece to fit, retap it. They said that if they milled this down, it messes with the heat treatment. It's not what you want to do. Basically, it was impossible. So that is not an option. I don't know if that's true. I'm not a machinist. It makes sense. However, I don't know. The basically two options. They have a rail forming, or I have to go with a different chassis. They didn't give me the option to credit me back on the action and go a different action. Cadex makes almost identical chassis, so very, very similar. And it's called the Light Competition, I believe, something along those lines. It has everything on here. What it doesn't have is this, and it doesn't have the front rail, but it does have the ability to add the front rail. So roughly from like here on, I can get a rail that way in the future. I can get a thermal clip on, and then everything will be done. So it's one of two things. I get really lucky, Cadex can get me a rail, or it's a whole nother chassis. Now, but this is what I was wanting. When I went to Alamo, I had this and I said, this is what I want to do. They recommended this and it doesn't work. So my view of this, this is on them to fix. Unfortunately, they didn't, I don't want to say they didn't take responsibility, but they didn't say, this is what needs to happen. You have to do a whole system, a whole new barreled action. You came in with this expectation, you spent all this money, you didn't get it. Let's make it right. Let's get you a new barrel action and we'll put it to the front of the line or whatever it is. That's, again, it's not what I expected. It's just in my business, that's what I do. So we're looking at a new rail or a new chassis, and that's kind of the end of that. So again, guys, if you're doing any kind of custom gun, before you do anything, make sure everything is going to fit. Do your due diligence. In this situation, the best outcome would have been had they said, hey, look, bring in your chassis. I've got actions on the wall. We're going to put it in there and see what works. Hey, it doesn't work. Let us do some research for you. Let's figure out what parts work. We'll make you a parts list and a build quote. Okay, this is what it's going to take. At that point in time, I may have been more willing to spend a little bit more to get exactly what I want. At this point in time, I'm out of money, so it's not, most of that stuff's not an option. Anyway, I'm done with this video. I'm going to make this a whole video, and then we'll do a part 3. That way I can keep everything short. So again, I do want to reiterate the work. I haven't shot it, so I don't know how the accuracy is. But as far as the work, everything, the paint, beautiful. That's that for this video. If you're watching this, guys, thank you for checking it out. I've got a bunch of videos on how to read wind, long range shooting, all kinds of stuff. Check them out. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And then keep following along just to figure out how this build goes and seeing where we end up in the whole situation. Anyway, there we go.